Hey, welcome everybody. It's Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, time for Sci-Fi Distilled. Welcome back, Mary Beth. How are you?
Hello, hello. How are you?
Happy tax day.
Happy tax
You
day.
got
Everybody
all your
get their
taxes
taxes in
in.
okay?
You guys haven't gotten your taxes. Got to give the government a pound of flesh, unfortunately.
See, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Render unto whatever the rest of that quote is.
Anyway, so we are going back to the 80s again for another Aliens Visit Earth
Love it.
movie. This one is 1988's Alien Nation with a kind of an all-star cast when you think about it.
Yeah, crazy
Really kind
cast.
of an odd cast for this. We'll talk about that. But before we do that, I think we have news.
We do have news tonight, all kinds of news that we can discuss. CinemaCon 2026 officially kicked off on Monday. And it didn't take long for fans to spot the Spaceballs 2 marketing, which was apparently everywhere, with a release date set for April 23, 2027, so about 1 year from now. Amazon MGM Studios is making the film's presence felt at the week-long trade show. The halls of Caesar's Palace in Vegas are filled with posters and promotionals and all kinds of stuff. And they have their very own elevator, Spaceballs the Elevator, which is kind of a riff off of Spaceballs, the whatever the heck they had in the
They had
movie.
everything.
Like,
It was the merchandising, Spaceballs, the flamethrower.
Spaceballs, the everything. So it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. They're pushing it. Speaking of CinemaCon and our favorite segment, Back to the Well. We're going back to the well. Also coming out of CinemaCon this week, there have been several attempts to get a reboot of Escape from New York off the ground over the past few years, and it's been revealed that the studio is officially moving ahead with doing John Carpenter's 1981 cult classic again. Why? I don't know, but they're doing it.
Does not need to be done.
Does not need to be done. There have been rumors that Kurt Russell might be back to reprise the role of Snake Plissken. Whatever. Okay, sure. I'll bring you guys more of this when and if.
I know Kurt really liked that role.
Yeah.
I've heard him talk of that. He was.
I was thinking about it and I was like, can't he get his son? Because remember on the Godzilla show, are you watching that Godzilla
show?
Yeah,
Monarch, yeah.
It's him and his kid Wyatt.
Wyatt,
who I love. I think the two of them should maybe do Snake Plissken that way, like an older Snake and then younger Snake or something. That would be awesome.
Know if I like Wyatt, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he has the same badassery as his father does. There was a certain I don't think he has the swagger. He comes across more as a more American Pie, apple pie kind of a,
I don't know. I felt like
guy,
on Thunderbolts when he was American Agent or where the hell he was, he had that little touch of either Homelander or Soldier Boy to him. Like, I think he could go there if given enough space to go. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right.
Well, I just want to say hi to Sarge and Bill and Jeff and Chris. Thanks for joining us, guys. Always a pleasure to have you along. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it needs to be real. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I don't think Escape from New York needs to be.
Do we need more Escape
from New York? Because they did Escape from LA as a sequel, and it really wasn't very good.
It didn't do. It wasn't as good. And we've done both of those movies, I believe, on this show. I know for sure we did Escape from New York. I remember.
Did we do Escape from New York? I don't think we did Escape from LA. I don't think we need to.
So. Okay, moving on. Bradley Cooper, more well, guys. We're still in the well. Bradley Cooper has officially lined up his next gig. He's going to take the helm of the next Ocean's 11. Well, it's not. It's a prequel, so it's before 11. Ocean's 9.5. I don't know. He is going to be writing, directing, producing the whole, and starring alongside Margot Robbie. Okay, sure. Those are fun movies, whatever. And then finally in the well tonight, and this one boggles my mind. I don't quite understand it. Jamie Dornan will be replacing Viggo Mortensen in The Hunt for Gollum. Now, The Hunt for Gollum has Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Andy Serkis, Lee Pace. It has almost all the original cast, but Viggo's not going. They're putting in Jamie Dornan. So that kind of breaks my brain a little. Like, if everybody else is going to be there.
I don't know why they're writing Tolkien that never was Tolkien, but anyway, I don't know if these are really great ideas.
Well, I later in the news, we're gonna I have something I want to read to you, and we're going to discuss it. Moving on today. Stranger Things creators, the Duffer Brothers, have their next thing coming out, kids. It's called The Burrows, and it is coming out on May 21st. There's already a trailer out there. This thing has an incredible cast of veteran stars. The Burrows takes place in a seemingly picturesque retirement community where a group of unlikely heroes was band together to stop an otherworldly threat from stealing the one thing they don't have, time. So it's going to be Stranger Things for old people. The cast includes Bill Pullman, Gina Davis, Alfred Molina, Ed Begley Jr., Jane Kaczmarek, Dee Wallace from E.T., and a whole bunch of other people that you know who they like. And it's going to be weird.
That sounds straight. What platform is that going to be on?
That's on Netflix, and they're gonna release all 8 episodes at once on May 21st. So you can shotgun this thing at your leisure. Just go ahead and
probably worth giving it a shot just based on their previous stuff. You know,
I usually like the Duffer Brothers, so yeah, and I like the cast.
You know,
like, I
really
like
good. I think the biggest problem with Stranger Things was it ran too long and too long.
It had a long gap.
Yeah, the gaps were too long, and I think and they probably could have wrapped it up after like the 3rd season.
Probably could have. Yes.
Probably didn't need to keep going, but whatever. You know, they like to squeeze as much as they can out of these franchises, and I get it. If it's making money.
All right. Rizzo, I found an article. It's actually kind of an editorial on space.com in their entertainment section. And I will put I will put the link in the chat if you guys want to read the entire article because it's pretty lengthy. But I just want to read like little parts of it. And then Rizzo, I want your opinion on this. So here we go. I'm gonna read, and then I want to hear, Rizzo, what you think. There was a time when things ended, when the stories on our screens had a beginning, a middle, and an end. A time when a trilogy was the longest series of films that you're probably gonna see, and when a show aired its final season, it was done. That time is gone. And I could rattle off a list of Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, Godzilla, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, DC, Doctor Who. These are all franchises that are no longer vehicles for structured stories, but instead are sprawling universes in which stories build and collide and ramble on ad infinitum. What happens to something when it's never allowed to end? What are the consequences of this endless treadmill of content? What happens to us, the audience, when we're no longer allowed to finish a story? And just to be clear, there have been some good things. We got Lower Decks, we got Andor, and a few other good things. But without a chance to say goodbye to our heroes, we're missing out on a core part of the stories, their endings. For many of us, watching that final poker game in the next gen was a moment of profound reflection. Seeing Luke, Han, and Leia party with the Ewoks without digital Anakin Skywalker brought the groundbreaking space opera to a culturally significant end. And we all knew it was the end. And that held us for years. And we were happy because we had closure. But now Picard zipping around the cosmos again. Palpatine somehow returned. There's no more closure. And when there's no end in sight, no closing lessons for us to learn, it leaves everyone with ambiguity about what we're supposed to take away. And on a sociological and philosophical level, you're supposed to keep caring what happens to these characters, and counterintuitively, it makes it harder for us to care. As our stories don't give us the catharsis that we're psychologically built to need, we stop investing in them. Rizzo, what do you think about that opinion? Do you agree with that?
Quite the soapbox there.
Yeah.
I understand what they're saying, and I think the problem with what happens with any of these big franchises, Star Wars is a good example, Star Trek's another example, it becomes diluted to the point where what made those things great, I think it diminishes them a little bit each time, especially when it's a failure. And you know what I'm saying? And this is my opinion. This is certainly not you all can disagree with me, but I think when you keep pumping out shows based off of, let's say, Star Trek, and a lot of them really, in my opinion, weren't great. They're not well written, but they're just there to get content out because it's your flagship IP. I think it diminishes the whole, because I think people start looking at that as an entire bolus of work, and this was great and this wasn't so great. and what happens when you mix two colors together, or it just makes a new bland. You know what I'm saying? It just that's my feeling on that. So I agree that some of this stuff has just been pulled a little too far. And Star Wars, Star Trek, pick a franchise. Alien, they've done it too. Alien's a really good example where we had the first film standalone was great, awesome film. The second one, amazingly, stood on its own legs and was a great film. But then what did they do? Oh, we got to keep that money train running. And they got worse and worse and worse. And worse. Yeah. Now we have a TV show based on it, which is okay. So yeah, that's my feeling. I think it just dilutes it and it diminishes the whole, and it kind of takes away what made those franchises special in the first place.
I agree. I think it completely erodes what was great about not erodes, but undermines. Yeah, erodes, I guess, either word. What was great about the franchises in the first place. The article goes on to say, and I wish I'd caught the guy's name who wrote it. I could look it up real quick. That the answer is to embrace the new and stop clamoring for what was. I don't know if because he goes, he goes, Deep Space Nine worked because it was so different from TNG. But no, that is actually not, because you could argue, Disco was way different from anything before. How come that didn't work? It didn't work. So I don't think I agree with his solution. But I agree with the fact that I think stuff needs to end. I think it needs
I agree, but I think if you have I think it all comes down to the thing we always keep talking about, and that is the quality of writing and the quality of the stories and the things that the thing with Next Gen and Deep Space Nine is they kept to a core value of Star Trek for the most part. They definitely areas. A lot of people didn't like DS9. They didn't like there was a war going on. They didn't like, but it explored a different aspect. I thought a more realistic aspect of that universe. But then you get to Discovery, and they changed so many things about it, and I think they got farther away from Star Trek's core storytelling, and they then it all became about MacGuffins and everybody's emotions, and it's not what the original fans were looking for. You can argue what do you like? If you like it, great, that's fine, but clearly it wasn't popular enough to continue.
This author is Matthew Razak. I did drop the link in the chat for those of you who are on Facebook. Those of you who are on YouTube are not going to see it though. But the reason I stumbled across this article, and I thought of you immediately, Rizzo, because you had just sent me the link to the Cinewire video that talked about Kurtzman being done and Kinberg coming in. And so clearly,
which now, mind you, that is just rumor and conjecture. There is no official word from Paramount Skydance on that. So basically, what that was that they were going to. Basically, what they're saying, Paramount was allegedly is saying that they're going to bring in this other guy, and they want him to ignore everything that Kurtzman did. So, essentially saying that's not canon. Don't even reference it. Yeah. And we're going to start with. They were hoping to. They really wouldn't need to, because what the theory was they wanted to do 3 films, not TV shows, but 3 films that would all be pre-written out as a 3-part series, like a trilogy of Star Trek taking place after Enterprise, but before Kirk's time. So kind of somewhere in that 100-year gap, probably more Federation building. And that was what the timeline. So they really wouldn't impact anything Kurtzman did, because everything he did was after that time period anyway. But they're basically saying they want to wipe out the whole Romulan thing blowing up, the sun supernova, and the whole Picard seasons and all that would be just forgotten about. I mean, I think that's just a lot of angry fans probably
and again,
projecting that.
All Yeah, exactly. This was all speculation on the part of Cinewire. I can drop that link if you guys really want to see it. But again, clearly they still think the show must go on. Do we want Star Trek to go on in its unstable state? What do we want? What do we want as fans?
It was going to be 2027 or 28 before the first movie would drop. So we'd have a little gap. But I think I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't know. if it's done right, I'd like to see it. I still think that the Archer show series about the President Federation, that idea I think would be a great idea if it's done well. I think it'd be that kind of the West Wing meets Star Trek.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think that could be marketable because it won't be starships and phaser banks, and
it'll be
going to be more politics. But I think it could be.
It was political, and it rocked.
If it's written well, and the stories are compelling, yeah, John, thank you. It's called United, Star Trek United. I think it could be a really good show. I think it could be a really compelling show. But again, it all comes down to getting people that understand Star Trek, understand the genre, and writing good stories that fit the universe.
That brings us back to the space.com article, Rizzo. Seeing that final poker game on the Enterprise back on the D.
I know what you're saying, but that was Next Gen.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the final. Yeah. We had the movies, and we knew.
Stop pulling those characters into the future.
But we knew at that time. I don't know if I really felt when I was watching that this was the end of the series, but we already knew they were going to make at least several Next Gen films.
Yeah,
we
that's
knew we were going to see those characters again. So
fair point.
So and we did for what? How many did they make? 4 Next Gen movies. And you think about it, Next Gen was going on. They were still making TOS movies.
Yeah,
when was Undiscovered Country was what? Early 90s, right? 91, something like that, 92. And we were already well into Next Gen TV area. So that was a nice closure. I mean, whether you like Undiscovered Country or not, it was kind of a nice wrap up to that story. We had Sulu as a captain, the rest of them are kind of going off. But they didn't really leave. They're still, the main crew was still on the Enterprise. Just Sulu was going off on his own.
I mean, and then we find out, what was the movie Kirk dies?
That was the next one. That was Generations. That was Generations. And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to pass the torch.
Yeah, they were trying to pass the torch,
and saying, okay, this is the closure.
We already had Next Gen for a while.
But we all know nobody wanted to see Kirk die. Nobody ever wanted to see Kirk die. Nobody wants to see Spock.
We still don't. That's why that unification clip was so popular.
Unification was awesome. That was a nice closure for a lot of fans. I mean, even though it's not canon. But,
yeah, I mean, it really does boil down to the question: do we end it or do we let it keep going? And the answer is, we'll let it keep going if it's what we want, if it's good. But this writer, this author is saying, no, you have to embrace the new. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think
as long if you're spinning off the universe, that's different than if you're dragging these characters back. You understand what I'm saying? I think had they, it's like like I said, you kept bringing up the poker game, which was Next Gen's end. And then DS9 had their very specific end with Cisco, and we don't know.
Yeah,
is Cisco alive? Is he really? Is he a whatever?
Is he a god?
Force ghost? Whatever. That kind of was left some ambiguity, but it needed to be. So I think shows that got real, like Enterprise. I think they did dirty with their finale, as a lot of people agree. Nobody liked the fact. Even Frakes doesn't like the fact that they kind of Next Gen kind of horned in on another show's finale.
Yeah.
He never even liked that. So although the episode itself I don't think was horrible, it was a terrible finale for that series. I think they could have, I think it would have been nice to see the Federation. It did kind of a little bit, but they had plans that were shot down when they got canceled. So anyway, yeah, I think if you're dragging the characters out, I don't necessarily think if you're dragging the universe out. I think there's always been room. I think we kind of saw that with Star Wars. You look at Rogue One, and I think you brought in new characters for the most part into the same storyline, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, really, except for Vader and Moff Tarkin and a little bit of Leia.
Yeah, but I compare that with like on Starfleet Academy, they pulled in the Doctor. They pulled in what's his name, Robert Picardo there, and it's just like it didn't feel. It It did not feel like pulling Vader into Rogue One. Nope.
No.
Didn't have that feeling at all.
No, that was just, I don't know why they
it's just, yeah. I just
I don't
feel
know
like,
why they did a lot of stuff. John Tripp isn't dead, technically. Read the books. It was all a ruse.
Yeah, he just typed it from back in the book. John is on the soapbox tonight. I should have had him on to talk about this. He seems to have a lot to say.
A lot of fatigue. Yeah, but you're right. There's fatigue. But I think most of the fatigue I think people have been feeling, I think personally it comes down to the quality of the writing just has not been there.
Yeah.
I think the writers have been late. I'll be blatant about it. I think they've been lazy, and I don't think they knew anything about, had a clue about what Star Trek really was about or should be about. And Kurtzman pretty much said that right from the get-go. He didn't want people that knew Star Trek because he wanted this new version of Star Trek. Well, then it's not Star Trek.
No, Star Trek. But we already had a new version. It was JJ Trek, and we didn't like that.
Yeah, well, that's because JJ Abrams has like the kiss of death when it comes to franchises. He just
signed a deal. Hang on, let me pull it up because he just signed a deal with Paramount, and no, not that. Hang on, JJ. I literally just saw it. JJ Abrams has a deal at Warner Brothers through Bad Robot. I just saw it on the dailies. Yeah, so now I'm like, are you making more Trek? What are you doing? Can you just stick to your lane, please?
I don't know. He hasn't. I think he's kind of. Has he still a thing in Hollywood? I thought because everything he's touched, he's killed. He's just like he hasn't a deal really at Warner Brothers. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe just Bad Robot has a deal at Warner Brothers, which I don't know. I mean, whatever. He did, since he did Rise of Skywalker and it was horrible. People, he has not had any directing gigs, so he finally got one called The Great Beyond, so that'll be coming soon. But yeah, it's
yeah. So we'll see. I guess it's all going to be we'll see. They're not going to let it go. It's a moneymaker, even when it fails. People, I mean, I think they lost. The problem is, I think what they're realizing is that they can't just throw a ton of money at something and expect a return on it. I think Starfleet Academy was the perfect example of that. That show was insanely expensive. I don't know how many millions per episode they spent, and they did not get their return anywhere near that. And I think Disney learned that the hard way with The Acolyte. You just can't slap Star Wars on something and call it gold anymore. Used to be. There was a time when you could probably get away with that.
The sets are coming down. All the sets are coming down. However, was it you I was talking to? Yeah, we were talking about how, or was I reading this? The sets are all coming down in Toronto where they were filming. However, everyone could not help but notice, I guess it was in that Cinewire video, that everything is being moved to Toronto. So they're taking Star Trek away from Secret Hideout.
They moved all the offices and everything.
Away from the offices on the West Coast, and it's going to be all centralized in Toronto, which is pretty interesting. So if there's a new show, I guess they'll be building this.
Yeah, they moved everything away from Kurtzman. I don't know if that was
literally
they implied that it was to get it away from Kurtzman.
Again, this was speculation,
but I don't know. This is all speculation. So there's there's no, until you read it in like Variety or something, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So anyway, boy, we did almost a half a show here. We haven't.
Oh crap! Sorry, I didn't mean
the main event.
Get that deep into it. And John is saying Project Hail Mary says proof of writing. Yeah.
Then been based on a popular book as well, so we already had a nice base to start from. So,
all right, anyway. Let's do it. Let's do bald-headed aliens who are cops.
Yeah, Alien Nation, 1988. I can't remember.
Hang on. Are we drinking anything tonight?
We do have a drink. I was gonna be an ass and just put sour milk.
Oh, you totally should have.
But who's gonna drink sour milk? So I found this thing. It's called the Essex Slag. Just has nothing to do with the movie, but it's a Finlandia vodka, which I believe is a brand, apricot brandy, cranberry juice, and some mango juice.
Yeah, that sounds okay.
That's Slag because they called that was the derogatory term for the newcomers. So those of you guys that don't know the movie, it basically takes place in around 1990, 91, even though it comes out in 88. An alien ship shows up. It's full of slaves. The ship's broke down. we have to take these, I don't know, thousands. Did they say probably hundreds of thousands, right?
Yeah, I think I think the number was 300,000.
That was a race of slaves that were bred to be slaves. I'm going to get dinged for saying slave now on the show.
We get dinged every week.
We get dinged every week.
We got to stop.
But anyway, so they come to Earth, and of course, Earth surprisingly welcomes them into society. And just trying to integrate these people into regular Earth.
Sort of welcomes them.
It's typical of how it would go. The government say, "Oh yeah, we're going to be all altruistic," and then of course the reality is people think of them as second citizens and that kind of thing. So this is really a buddy cop movie. That's really all it is, with this science fiction kind of twist to it. It's just kind of an interesting backdrop for just another. It could have been Lethal Weapon, honestly.
Yeah.
The cast, which was interesting, I thought, because James Caan right out of the gate seemed like an odd choice, and I don't think he's a real fan of this film, because I know he's been asked about it. People are like, why are you asking me about that movie of all the movies?
He does not like this movie.
I mean, James Caan will always be Sonny Corleone with a garbage can kicking beat. That's always going to be my James Caan.
It was one of his first movies back after spending a little bit of time in rehab, so he had to start back somewhere. But no, he's perfect for the role. But he's an amazing actor, and I think they could have given this character more depth than just stereotyped cop. I think he could have because he could have handled it. He absolutely could have handled it. And then Mandy was coming right off of Princess Bride.
Yeah, right out of
a strange casting.
Prepared to Die. It was a strange casting choice. It worked very well, in my opinion.
Oh, he was lovely. He was perfect, as you know.
Yeah, no, he played it well. And it was popular enough that it spun off a TV show. I guess it only lasted a season. It seemed like it to me. It thought it lasted long, but it also, from the TV show, it spun off several TV movies.
Yes.
With the original. That Gary Graham filled in for Sykes, which James Caan's character, in the TV shows. A little bit younger actor, obviously, at the time. But there's a lot of Star Trek connections in this film, actually.
Yeah, there really are. I don't do all the roads anymore, but I was like, oh,
there are, yeah.
Because,
but anyway, so basically it starts out as a kind of a murder mystery, and then it turns into kind of a thing with drugs. And I thought there was some clever stuff then with the newcomers that they have basically abilities that humans don't. They obviously seem stronger overall. They have immunity to certain things, but except salt water, which apparently is like sulfuric acid to them, which is really strange. Scientifically, I don't think that really works.
It's covered in it.
Yeah, well, I know they didn't have a choice. They didn't choose to break down.
No, I suppose they did not have a choice.
But I mean, biologically, they're so close to humans. Why would salt water be so reactive?
Yes, because you're right, they are close. Except for the milk thing, they seem to be eating our food and
they eat raw food. They did imply that they don't eat their food cooked.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Where he said raw, not alive, but raw
animal meat, raw, just rusty.
And then the milk thing was
like beaver tartare or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of
he pours the chunky milk.
That's what she said. Okay.
Did you imagine what their breath must be like?
Well, yeah. This movie, really interesting movie. This thing hits the ground running. It gives you just a little bit of backstory at the top of the film, and then boom, keep up or get out, like sink or swim. And both Caan and Patinkin are playing it like deadly serious, and like they're like into it, and they're cops, and it was so, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. This thing opened up against A Fish Called Wanda and Cocktail, and just like many, many, many movies that we have talked about on this show, the studio, which at the time was Fox, did not know what to do with it and did not know how to market it, and they mostly marketed it as an action movie, which kind of
it's kind of labeled as like a dark comedy. I don't know. It's sci-fi, obviously, the thriller. Yeah, I don't It has. I mean, it has action in it. There's car chases.
Yeah,
and stuff,
there's action, sort of.
I mean, I would just
The action was kind of lacking. I mean, for its budget, the action was lacking. A lot of the budget went to above the line stuff. And so the actual, below the line stuff, like the makeup was good. They did a really good job with the makeup. That was Stan Winston and crew. But like the action sequences, I think could have used a few more dollars. I don't know. This was Rockne S. O'Bannon who wrote this, and you guys know him. Even if you don't know him, he did Sequest Deep Space, DSV. He did Farscape, and did a bunch of other like really popular stuff that you're familiar with. And he does a lot of the Stranger in Strange Land or immigration and assimilation themes, which we see in Farscape with John Crichton. So, but yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like some missed opportunities. I feel like it could have either delved more heavily into like newcomer assimilation and themes of prejudice and stuff, or it could have delved more into being an action movie.
I think there was a lot more. Apparently, there was a lot more interaction between Sykes and Francisco, but it was cut out. They were supposed to release in the summer, and because of all the re-edits and stuff, it didn't release till October.
Yeah.
One of the interesting thing was, they called the Mandy's character was Sam Francisco.
Yeah, it was Sam, and he was going to
call. So the joke of that was originally they wanted to use George Jetson, but Hanna-Barbera wouldn't let him. So that's why they called him George. That's why he said, "I'm just going to call you George."
Yeah, he was George.
That was a joke because they couldn't use George Jetson. But the thing is, the funny thing about that is, that they probably had a very similar immigration process that they did in the early part of the 19th century, or the 20th century, I should say, where people were coming in through Ellis Island. And, that's kind of like they did it in The Godfather. That's why they were named Corleone, not by their real name. It was probably the part of Sicily that they came was Corleone.
Yeah, because all
the same kind of thing where they were just making up names because they were running out of names to give people. So,
You're Steve.
Rudyard Kipling. That was kind of funny.
Yeah. If you guys are like really into the sci-fi does these themes of whatever, I'd say District 9 did it better. District 9 dove into
District
it.
9 was a more serious, a serious sci-fi film, I think, in that
serious
sense.
Sci-fi, really holding up the mirror to society like they do. You know how sci-fi is.
I agree with that. I just don't see this as so much as a sci-fi film as I do a buddy cop film.
Yeah, this is 100% a buddy cop film.
That's how I look at it. You could have took the same exact script, changed everything out from take all the alien reference out of it, and it could have easily been whatever the Mel Gibson movies were.
I felt like, I don't know, the fact that it couldn't quite decide what it wanted to be sort of interrupted. Like we'd be going along with the action with the murder mystery part of it, and then we'd get interrupted by a little bit of alien stuff, and then you'd be just get into the alien stuff, and we're back to the I don't know, it kept interrupting itself sometimes, which is sort of weird.
Again, I think because they cut it down to 90 minutes, which is like so short.
They could have rolled 2 whole hours. I would have stayed with it.
Yeah, I think they could have. I think they could have actually easily added a half an hour to this film to flesh out more stuff. I would have. You're right. I would have liked to seen a little bit more alien. They did do that in the TV show. Did learn more about their culture. There was a hierarchy, which they kind of alluded to in this film, that they weren't all slaves. There were some that were the masters that were controlling for the other
dive
aliens,
into it much more. Yeah.
Which clearly was Terrence Stamp's character. Terrence
Stamp is awesome at everything he does, but again, I felt like he was just a caricature. He was a stereotype. He was the token criminal, and he's an alien. Yeah, I want to know why the alien.
There was no much backstory with him other than he wanted to
just
manufacture the drug. And they really didn't. Yeah, I mean, they kind of connected the dots with the initial murders that led him to him. But I don't know.
Bill and John are comparing their laser disc.
Don't let us interrupt you with our show, guys. You just have your conversation.
They're fine. The reviews on this thing distinctly reflected disappointment. They were saying kind of what I was saying, like it should have been one or the other, but it didn't. But there are some good things. Like it's not. it like there are some good things that happened in this movie. They chose not to demonize either side. It was really sincere. And it is like my thing says, it is a true oddity of untapped potential, but it's still a really awesome film. Like, don't not see it because
it's entertaining.
It's still really fun and good.
Yeah, I watched it and it entertains you, which is really, like we talked about this, or I said this, that's the main goal of a film.
Yeah.
I know we all love to dig down and think about what was the writers thinking, and what was their motivations, and I'm like, but the bottom line is, if it doesn't entertain you, was it any good? No matter how clever it might have been. Yeah. And I think this movie, there's not a lot. It's not very deep. Doesn't go past. It's not just surface stuff.
Everything,
but it kept you entertained. You wanted to see what happens. You're curious. What's going to happen? How is this going to interact? Or you knew they were going to be friends at the end.
There's a little theme. They're being a little racist toward the alien, but let's just keep rolling. Well,
I mean, the fact they call them flags. Well, I mean, I don't know where that. They don't really tell you what that originated.
The Asian doctor, the Asian autopsy doctor, the medical examiner, where he was like really racist, and his assistant
again, there was so many stereotypes in this movie, and I don't mean like stereotypes about race or anything. I mean stereotypes about characters. So we had the typical coroner who is completely indifferent to the bodies that are laying around. He's eating in the lab where he has these bodies. They always do that. There's always a guy eating a sandwich doing an autopsy, or at least he's in the morgue and he's eating a sandwich. Like this guy this time is eating KFC. But yeah, kind of just indifferent, not so much just like, as another, what do you call them? The blob, the guy that got, eaten by the seawater, the blob's over there, kind of thing. It was just very, very stereotypical.
They didn't know about microaggression back then.
Well, I mean, you got to remember it's 88, so we're talking, this movie's almost 40 years old.
There was a blink and you miss it cameo by the most important device in the universe, and if you know what that is,
it's light thing.
195-290-1.
It's
been in everything.
It's been in everything. Yeah, it's been in Star Trek.
It was in the scene where Mandy Patinkin was smashing the drug.
When he finds the lab where they're making the drug.
He finds the lab. It was in there. It was in the lab.
Yeah, I noticed that right away.
Picture that thing so we could put the picture up on the screen.
Yeah.
This prop, it has been used it was in V, Stargate. I think every science fiction show or movie has used the blinky light thing.
It's like a tube with like some lights in it. It's like tube with like these things on either end.
Let's see if I can get a picture.
It's
called the most important device in the universe.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't do anything. It's definitely a GNDN. Goes nowhere, does nothing. But that's in there. That's true. That was funny.
Images.
But
here it is.
You can share. Just go to down at the bottom.
It might be easier if I
post it. Share screen.
I could share screen, but then you guys won't.
Or you could. I don't know if you can upload it, or if I only one that can do that. If you click on that share.
I'm going to share a screen, but it's going to have multiple images on it. So let's see what happens.
You can't make it full screen.
Oh no! Is it gonna? No, why would it? There it is. Ha ha ha. Share that. Look at all those pictures, kids. That is the most important device in the universe, and you can clearly see it's lit up.
Yeah, this one up in the upper left is probably
this one.
That's the best shot of it. Or the one, it says, "What is this?" Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, that's it. It's been reused, repainted. Sometimes it's just one. It's been in Buck Rogers. It goes back to like Battlestar era.
Tons, next gen, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it goes back quite a ways. And it's one of those it's in a prop warehouse. They just rent it. Star Trek used it. Next Gen used it
over and over again. Okay,
that's it.
All right, stop sharing. You guys know what it is. Now you know the most important device.
The more you know
in the universe.
So that was when their Shatner comment. It was an airplane too, I think.
It was an airplane too. In fact, Shatner and some other characters stand there and have a conversation about it in front of it. Like, what does this do?
What does it do? We don't know.
Yeah, does something. Must do something.
which is like, you know, most of all the sci-fi sets are just blinking lights and they don't mean anything.
Yeah, it's just battery, like, you know, little lights, little Christmas tree lights. And then which just cracks me up when they say that in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, it's Christmas tree lights.
Christmas tree lights on cardboard. And I think of the set,
I don't know if you guys saw it. If you're following Creation, they're going to do a live reading of Galaxy Quest at Star Trek Las Vegas this year.
Which is awesome.
In the past, they did Plan 9 from Outer Space, and I think last year they did War of the Worlds, the actual radio play. So it's cool stuff. But so getting back to some of the cast, I did want to mention Leslie Beavis, who played Cassandra. She didn't have a big part in this, but if you, I was like, she looks so familiar, and the name's familiar, and I looked her up. She's been in a ton of stuff. She was in Spaceballs. She's been in Star Trek Next Gen episodes.
There's a couple of folks in here.
Done a ton of stuff. Deep Space Nine, MacGyver. I think she was in she might have been, no, I guess she wasn't in the TV show of Alienation. But anyway, I was like, if you see her, but she's not as easily recognizable in this film because she's bald with a big kind of trill. I noticed it was like a trill looking thing. They trill stole because the if you look at when you see her from the back without a shirt on, and you could see her spots go all the way down.
It is very trilly. They worked so hard on those. They were gonna give them like a spines that would come up on top, and then they dumped that idea. But the Stan Winston team worked really hard because the movie's mostly at night. Like, it's a lot of dark scenes, so it had to look good in the dark, had to look good in the light, had to look good up close, had to look good from a distance, and it had to give them enough facial so that you can kind of get the gist of things. And they had they had the hero makeup, which was, you know, full prosthetics and took hours and like made it. But then they had, that was the A team, they had the B team, the C team, and then they had the D team. And the D team was literally just throw it over your head and you go way in the background. And you're just walking down the street way in the background.
Yeah, you're just
because it didn't move. It was just, you know, a hood that they put on.
Yeah. I would have. You're right, though. I would have liked to have seen more integration because there's that whole scene where they go out on Slag Town, as he puts it. Yeah. And there's like, you know, and there's like hookers and stuff. I'm like, I'm like, these people assimilated at this level in 3 years. They went from being on a spaceship with a totally different culture to being prostitutes.
Yeah.
Police and not prostitutes and everything else.
And being cops. And
now they did imply that they learn very quickly. Because he does something, how long are you taking English? Oh, a few months.
Yeah, 3 months.
And they go, we're bred for that. We're very learned. So you kind of say, okay, so their biology or whatever allows them to integrate, so we could. But I just felt, I would have said it would have made more sense if it was like 10 years rather than 3 years, because it starts out 3 years ago. The spaceship shows up over Los Angeles. Yeah, you know, and I'm like, in 3 years.
Yeah.
The other thing is, wouldn't you think they'd be ripping that ship apart for all its advanced stuff? They kind of never even mentioned any of that. They're still driving. Like, they're still driving around Oldsmobiles.
Yeah. Did our Army or Navy profit from this at all?
I would hope so. I would think humanity in general would, but maybe again that would have made more sense had they more like 10 years where they had time to.
And did they only come to America? Did they go anywhere else?
No, it was only the one ship, and it showed up over LA. Now I assume that they let them go wherever they want.
Because if you're an alien, where do you go?
Because you know, just like a lot of immigrants that came into New York Harbor, they kind of stayed in that area. It took a while for it to kind of trickle across the country. So you know, there was a comment in there during the movie where they were kind of interviewing, like, oh, why do we have to take them? What about, why don't they go to Russia or something like that?
Yeah.
You know, like, why do we have to take them all or something? There was like a, you know, like a news thing interviewing people. So they kind of tried to flesh it out a little bit with that intro thing, to give you the lay of the land of what's going on. But
it was just a little bit. It was like right at the top of the movie, and then they hit the ground running with the murder and all the rest of it. You know, I just felt like
all the stores had like both languages.
V did a better job of exploring like what happens when these two strange cultures, you know, interact.
I just think it was too quick. I think the interaction was fine, and I think it made sense that the newcomers wanted to. They wanted to become part of our society. They were willing to do this. They were motivated. They were very much like
assimilation was
immigrants. It really was. It was an immigration story because it was really like the immigration of the early 20th century, where people were coming over and they wanted to assimilate into American culture. They weren't trying to keep their own culture as much as they wanted to become Americans. So I think that kind of was what they were going for, that these people were coming here and they were happy to be here. They were slaves before.
For all the complaining I just did that the movie couldn't do one side or the other, they hit some real, I mean, they did a lot. They hit some points like you just made. They said a lot. It was very little, which is great, which is fantastic.
Again, I think they could have fleshed that out into, if they had made the movie longer, I think more interaction between George and Sykes. I think those two just interacting together talking about citing, maybe interviewing more people on the street, like investigating the murder. You could have gleaned more about what society was like and how it got there.
Oh, got that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think it could have been written in. And maybe it was, because they said they cut out a lot of the scenes that were those two interacting, and kind of, because their relationship like had a very steep curve. You noticed it was like Sykes, like, you're just here because I want to find the murderer of my
He punched
partner.
him when he first met him. The first time he met Patinkin, he punched him.
But I'm just saying, and then they had their one drunken night together, and then
their one drunken night.
And their best buds.
This is my kid. We named him after Richard Nixon. Don't be telling people.
Don't tell him it's Richard Burton. That was funny. Yeah, I don't know what that was funny. You would have liked to seen why. How did you pick Richard Nixon? Like,
what was your thought process there?
I guess that would have been like naming somebody Donald these days.
But now that you mention that, I'm really appreciative of the fact that they did not load this movie down with dumb misunderstanding jokes. Because they could have done that. Like, they could have been like loaded it with like the stupid. You know how they do that sometimes when you.
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of alluded to some of those things that, obviously the milk thing was funny. There was the whole when she's kind of coming on to Sykes, the sex thing that was kind of like, if you've been, a virgin, that kind of thing. But then when you see the one guy in the morgue, there's clearly you could see in his, nether regions that it was like a Barbie doll.
There was nothing.
So what is it inside? We assume. I don't know. Is it like? Does it?
Because she seemed like Cassandra, the girl. She seemed like she was ready to go at Sykes. So how was that gonna work?
Well, we don't know, because we don't know what their anatomy. We assume their anatomy is compatible at some level.
Must be. Oh, so now it makes me want to like go check out the show more. I feel like I watched the show more than I ever watched the movie.
I did watch the show. I watched all of the show. I do remember that. In fact, I remember I met Gary Graham in Vegas that year, I think 2018, because he passed.
His band was playing, right?
Yeah, he was they were the
house band or something.
They were the house band, yeah. Sons of Kirk was the band.
Is that?
Yeah. And I remember I went up to him. He was kind of a little bit wise ass, because I was like, I went up and I bought a shirt from him and stuff. And I said, hey, I really liked. I used to really like Alien Nation. He's like, what? You don't like it anymore? Kind of being a wise ass. And I'm like, well, no, it hasn't been on the air for 30 years. I'm like, he's like, oh no, I know what you mean. I'm just being an ass. I'm like, kind of. Maybe he's just having a bad day. I don't know. That was my only interaction with Gary Graham.
I can't imagine what it's like to be a celebrity and have to like.
I
hate people, so I don't want to interact with.
Well, he did. I mean, he was around. Like, he did that show, and he had like another movie that was kind of a sort of like a Robotech movie where it's like giant fighting, sort of like Lead with the Sword. Yeah, I can't think of the name of it. Somebody will pop into the comments and remember it. It was like but it wasn't against like. It wasn't like Pacific Rim where they were fighting the Kaji, whatever.
Oh, it's Robot Jocks?
Yes, Robot Jocks. Yeah, which wasn't a very good movie. And then you really didn't see him much until he did Enterprise, and he was
until he did Enterprise. Yeah, and then he did Star Trek Renegades and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that was fan film stuff, and he was doing, of course, our good friend Axanar.
Yeah, whatever. Gods and Men. He did a bunch of that stuff. Yeah, I'm just looking at his stuff now. He was around.
Yeah, he died fairly young. but it's always sad.
Oh, he was on Voyager too.
Was he? I did not know that.
One episode, just one episode. But he did a bunch of Alien Nation stuff. He did a couple of TV movies besides the show.
Yeah, they did one season of the show, and then they did like 3 or 4 movies. So the show, so it spawned a following, and there's a lot of comic books too, apparently.
Yeah.
So obviously people liked it. I mean, the movie itself might have done well, but it clearly found a niche somewhere, because they wouldn't have continued to make it if they thought. And I think maybe somebody saw the potential, and that's why they thought maybe as a TV show this would work better as a cop show, but again with the same twist. But then they could flesh out the science fiction side of it more. I don't know clearly what they were thinking, but
Gary's a good one kid. Sorry, now I'm just looking at pictures of Gary. There was a lot more to explore that they didn't, and they had the show, they had the movies, they took it in directions. I don't know. I never saw any of the movies, so I didn't.
Yeah, so the movies was Alien Nation Dark Horizon in 94, Alien Nation Body and Soul in 95, Alien Nation Millennium in 96. Boy, look, it's a lot. Alien Nation The Enemy Within in 96. And then Alien Nation, The Udura Legacy in 1997. And there's also some comic books and novels. So yeah, there's quite a bit. So there was this movie in 88, the series in 89, and then it was a gap of about 5 years till the first movie came out.
Wow. Good for you, Alien Nation. You carved out a niche for yourself.
Yeah, I always liked this movie, and I always liked the TV show. Like, it's one of those things. It's like you kind of, oh yeah, you remember that? That was good stuff. That was, kind of got forgotten. But I'm trying to look at who else was in this. Brian Thompson. You guys know him. He's been in a ton of stuff. He always plays a big bad guy. He's been in everything. Earl Bowen, same thing. He's been in a ton of stuff. He was probably most well known for the psychiatrist in the Terminator, the one that was in the police station that kept calling her crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Good cast. Good, interesting concept. I'm glad it kind of got off the ground and did as much as it did after it. I think it was worthwhile to explore it a little bit deeper. I think, I think this kind of fits a lot of what we try to do. Again, it's one of the, I wouldn't say it's a classic, but I would say if you're watching stuff of that era from the 80s, I think this is probably one worth watching. It certainly would put it on your list. Is it groundbreaking like 2001 or Andromeda Strain or something like that from the 70s? No. But it's good entertaining. I think it's a good entertainment movie, and I think again it spawned a pretty big franchise into the 90s. Spawned a pretty big franchise, yeah.
And you could almost. I'm surprised nobody's gone back to the well on this one and try to make a modern version of it.
They actually, I almost added that to my notes. They've talked about it, but nothing has ever gotten off the ground. So
yeah, well, that's like with a lot of
Sarge.
I know last year at we were talking about stuff that good stuff that never made it was they back, you guys that listen to the Trek Experts probably already know this, but they did a talk about Space Above and Beyond, which we've talked about.
Oh yeah,
and that only got the one season. It was another Fox show that got canceled before its time. And it was such a great written show. I think that show could easily be rebooted. And it would, if it's done right, it would work because the writing was so good on that show.
I agree.
And it was funny because people were like, it's not, the sad thing is it's not available on any streaming service. I have a copy of the one season on DVD. Which there was never any Blu-ray available, and I don't think they could make it Blu-ray because it was all the CGI graphics of the early 90s.
When we did it on this show, I think I had to sail the high seas to watch it. So yeah,
I have it on. So, but the reason was because they asked that, they're like, "Why is that show? Why isn't it?" And they're like, "Because we use too much copyrighted music, and it's just too hard and too expensive to get all the rights together to put it to run it," which is a shame because. I was lucky I got a copy of it before it went out of print, and it's just such a good show. I really recommend doing
Space Marines, but not like Super Troopers.
It's basically World War II in space. That's what they were going for. It's World War II in space.
World War II in space.
Yeah. So.
And John has it on Laserdisc.
I have it on Laserdisc. I didn't even know were they still making Laserdiscs in the 90s like that? I mean, I thought that was like a
do you ever play? Because like I was thinking about, if I got a DVD, and then I was like, wait, I don't have anything to play a DVD on anymore. Like, I don't even have
you can still buy like drives for your computer and stuff, but yeah, you're like, I have well, like if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, those will play. I'm just saying those will game systems. So yeah, I don't know, John. You better hope that Laserdisc player never breaks, because you're gonna have a lot of plastic that's not worth anything.
That's not worth much. Well, I mean, it'll still be worth much. Someone will have a Laserdisc player somewhere.
Get it repaired.
All right, let me tell you what's coming up for our friends.
What's Roy got going on?
Phil, where'd you go? Okay, Roy. Oh, Roy is gonna do some of the more popular TV stuff of Sid and Marty Krofft. You guys, because we just lost Sid Krofft last Friday, so we're they did Land of the Lost, which is probably what I know best. The Bugaloos, HR Puff and stuff, Banana Splits. I love Banana Splits. That was awesome. So that will be this Sunday, April 19 at 7 p.m. on Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi.
HR Puff and stuff.
Yeah, HR Puff and stuff. And Phil is going to be interviewing guitarist Todd Mosby on his new work and tour, and also the band Magenta has a new album out called Tarot. They'll be playing some of that and some more of that on Friday Night Freeform. Phil, we got to come back and mess up your Friday Night Freeform.
Phil, I know. I want to do movie theme song night.
Oh, and Bill, see, look, boom, Blu-ray players.
Yeah, no, Blu-ray players, of course, they're still available. Yeah, they're still selling Blu-rays. Why wouldn't their players be still available? So, now, what are you selling this? You're putting links on my thing here.
What's happening right now?
What's going on there, Will? So, we're not here to sell stuff. We do not support Amazon.
He's got the VCR. He's got the Blu-ray. He's all set. He can play any medium that you give him. We could do a puppet show for him, and he'd be all set.
Yeah.
Rizzo, what do you think we're doing next week?
I don't know.
We don't know. We never know.
I'm looking for suggestions. Something, John. What else you got on Blu-ray?
What else you got on Laserdisc?
What you got on Laserdisc that you want us to do? I don't know. We'll come up with something. We always try to do something. So.
John's here to add value.
I'm here to add value. You do value. Just bring the bourbon.
Things to come. Chris, I have never heard of this movie, Things to Come. Is it a horror movie? I get scared. I'm scared.
I don't think Chris is big on horror movies. Could be wrong. Anyway, we'll figure it out. So you could always message us if you think of something. So on that note, we will say good night. Live long and prosper. And may the force be with you always. Good night.
Bye, guys.